Hello, welcome back to HMS Odyssey Presents, and we are going back into it with Meg Zeek. Today, we're going over some of the centers and some of the advantages of having them open and closed. And I hope you enjoy. If you do, hit the like button, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe.
We'll go into the actual energetic centers of your chart. So we kind of went over the spleen, where it's your fear seed.
Yeah, right here.
I'm pointing with my mouth.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
You can't see that. I'm so used to it. So that's your fear seed. It's all about survival instincts, and it's a heavy place for intuition. So with it being so closely related to your sacral and your and the channel actually connecting the two, right? You may get feelings in your gut as well that are messages from your spleen. The spleen gives an instantaneous message to your whole body. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. I tell people that's okay. Because again, remember, the entire body is connected. So with yours being connected to your gut, it's kind of even better, because that's the center you're looking in to check. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then we went over your sacral. Do you have questions about your sacral? We're not going into the numbers quite yet.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm good then. Yeah.
Cool. So we'll start at the top. We'll start at your crown.
Okay.
Which is open, and this area is associated with your pineal gland. So it's all about ideas and inspiration. With yours being open, inspiration is all around you. You can get ideas from looking at the chair at your table. Like, you get ideas, you can get inspired from multiple areas. The downer side of this, if you will, is that you can also be a professional worrier. You can get ideas, again, from anywhere. And so that can cause overwhelm. And I mean, it can cause frustration too, right?
Yeah.
But it can cause that like
funny.
Overwhelm.
Yeah, because I wouldn't, when you said ideas and worrying, I think I would rather put it in the realm of skepticism.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Because when I get an idea, or someone else, talks, and then it's like, oh yeah, I got like an idea off that. It's like the skepticism comes in rather than the worrying.
Oh, I'm so glad okay. So number one, practicing like critical thinking skills is going to help you with that, right? So you have the skepticism, which is kind of like critical thinking, only I bet your skepticism is more logical, like ABC, or, this doesn't make sense because this kind of layering. Does that?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Okay,
that makes sense.
That's actually your ajna coming into play. Your open ajna.
Yeah.
Right. So the ajna is your systemizer, and with it being open, that's where your skepticism starts to come in, and that would be partially conditioning. Something I forgot to mention, I'll mention it here in a bit, is that skepticism is partially coming from there, because with that open ajna, it's really important for you to start getting comfortable with like the unknown or uncertainty. With that openness, you've probably like had a lot of experiences, or you've heard a lot of things from other people, and you say like, oh, that doesn't sound right. Get comfortable with the uncertainty, because that is where magic can happen for you. So the thing that I forgot to mention that I'm going to mention now is with these open or these white centers in your body, these are areas where you are more susceptible to conditioning. So again, if somebody gives you an idea and you've heard from 5 other people what a terrible move it was for them, that can create that skepticism for you, right?
Okay.
So something that I always tell people with open ajnas to think, like to ask themselves is there some perspective that you're not allowing yourself to see? Are you closing yourself off from some perspective or some idea? And you don't have, again, you never have to answer my questions. It's things for you to think about.
No,
write them down if you don't have an answer.
No, I like that because so I read a lot, right? I read a lot. And like right now I'm reading 3 books. I always read one for pleasure. I read one for, in the realm of what I do. So mindset, spirituality, or healing. So it's funny because when I read the books, I tend to be influenced by whatever they're talking about. So, I remember distinctly reading Eckhart Tolle and just like contemplating like everything in detail, like time and like everything that he talks about. I read The Power of Now. So it's like thinking about all those concepts in like a very deep fashion because, it's like he's not like, one little blurb. He writes a considerable amount and it makes you think. And then, right now I'm reading Tony Robbins and, Unlimited Power. So there's lots of different concepts in there. So like, I feel like I take them on. And then right now I'm also reading one of my fiction books. Is called ABC Murders by Agatha Christie. So she does the Hercule Poirot. So Death on the Nile, Murder on the Orient Express. Those are part of the series. And he's like a older gentleman. He's very up, and he speaks French and he acts a certain way, and it's very distinguished, and he thinks a certain way. And I find that like I take on some of those characteristics as I'm reading the book. Whatever I'm reading, right? Okay. So like when I read the Eckhart Tolle, every conversation became like something like I was like, how can I dissect this and like figure out like on a deeper level what they're trying to say to me, right? And then with the Tony Robbins right now, he's like talking about some of the NLP properties, and it's like, how can I read your facial expressions and the way your eyes move and the way your body moves and your breathing and your posture? And so it's like every book is written from a perspective, and I like almost adopt some of those perspectives as I'm reading the books. So it's just funny that I had like a tangible example of that. Yeah. You said.
So do you feel like there's anything that you are not willing to see or hear, right? Like, let's say a client comes to you and they are having an issue with, let's just say, their wife. Relationship issues happen all the time. They're having this issue with their wife, and let's say that they have tried whatever tools you've already given them. And they're saying, it's not working. Would your skepticism kick in to say, you probably haven't really tried it, or would your openness kick in and say, okay, what other tools can we give you? Like what other perspective can I see this through?
Well, I guess openness would be the right word, because I do not believe that I am somebody that has all the answers. So if they came to me and, let's just say I gave them tool XYZ and I said, try these 3 things, see if this makes a difference.
Right.
And they came back and they say, XYZ doesn't work. And I'd be like, all right. So I'm sure something had impact in some different way. Maybe all three things didn't work, but something had to have had some kind of effect. So I might even ask them to re-describe the way that whatever it was transpired. So if I'm like, talk to your, spouse in a way like this direction. And then, if they approach their spouse in the wrong manner, like they're doing laundry or something, and you come up and you try a technique that isn't the right setting, right? So I'll be like, describe what happened.
Right.
Okay, well, she was doing the laundry and come on, like she's cooking dinner, she's doing the laundry, he's mowing the lawn, like it doesn't matter. Like if you catch you could be trying to give them $100, but if you catch them in the wrong moment in the wrong time, they might just get upset at you. So I'd probably ask them to describe the situation or problem or situation that happened, re-diagnose, and then, admittedly, if I was wrong, I might recommend them to somebody who could actually help in a different capacity.
I have great news for you. That is the perfect way to use your open ajna for the best outcome.
Sweet.
Yep. Cool. So that's your ajnas, and then your throat, with your throat being defined, it makes you a great speaker, a great communicator. Another thing about the throat being defined, and I'm sure you could have guessed that, but something that most people don't know is that when your throat is defined, you have some area of wellness, like health and wellness, that is really important to you. And it could be the whole thing, because that's kind of what you do, right? Is all of it. It all matters, right? Just know that that's part of where your inspiration comes from, which I find really interesting.
Yes. When you say health and wellness, what do you mean?
So, I mean, mental health, emotional health, physical health, spiritual health, financial health. All of those are different aspects of health, right? And for somebody with a defined throat, they may find one of those areas really interesting, or a couple of them. And I know you have deep dived into that in your life and also share it, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the characteristics that kind of makes you you.
Very cool.
The other really powerful part of having a defined throat, the throat is really known as your manifestation center. And so, and again, I know you practice this. This is information I would give to anyone. Being really aware of the words that you say out loud. I'm sure you can think of a time in the past where you said, like, man, it would really suck if this happened. And then what do you know? It happened.
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, like, I want that. And again, super broad, but that comes into your life. It just shortly after. Like, you can probably think of both of those experiences for yourself.
Yeah.
And so, again, being really aware of the words that come out of your mouth. And of course, that's also going to be a lot of linguistics work subconsciously. So I always let people know that that's a really, really good thing to focus on, especially when you have a defined throat. You can use that definition to help call in whatever it is that you truly want, right?
So if you have a defined throat versus an undefined throat, so are you saying that one would hold more power or more weight? Would you say that, or no?
I would not like to say that out loud.
I know I was backing you into a corner there.
So somebody with an undefined throat, they're going to have a little bit more trouble communicating unless they are partnered with someone who has a defined throat. So something else, I guess, tidbit for you is when you're in the presence of somebody with an undefined throat, you're probably going to recognize it to some extent because they feel energized by you and they may start blabbing. They may start going and going and going and going. And they'll actually communicate better to you through that than they would to somebody else with an undefined throat. So not that both people can't use manifestation through their throat. It is more so with a defined throat, you have a lot more automatic power in your words.
So it comes more naturally, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, the best analogy I could use is, anybody could be good at sports, right? But some people might have to put in more work to be good at sports.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Not necessarily a natural ability. Yes.
Good to go. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Oh, I started using my mouse again. So the next center down, the yellow one, I call it your G center. A lot of people you'll hear refer to it as the self center. With yours being defined, that is such a true gift because this is it really is. This is your area for I know who I am. I know who I am anywhere I go with anyone I'm with. It is self-identity, self-direction, and even just awareness, right? So you have a very natural ability to stand strong in who you are and not necessarily change characters depending on, the situation that's around you. Does that feel right to you?
Yeah, I could definitely think back in a time in high school when I wasn't really being myself because, I feel like I do have a fairly strong personality and maybe that's because of that, right? So since my G center is very defined, I know who I am and it's kind of there's a very, very clear cut line. It's take it or leave it. I have no problem if you leave it, but if you take it, I'll be your friend for life, right? There's the loyalty there.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's interesting.
Very common too with that. If you do take it, I'm loyal. Yes. Something to be aware of, and obviously I don't know the design of everyone that you're normally around. Something to be aware of though is for somebody that had an undefined self-center is that they could very easily take on your identity if they don't know how to protect that area. And oftentimes with the people that you're closest with, they're not going to put up some sort of barrier around you, right? Like an energetic barrier. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so if you ever start to notice that maybe somebody's acting out of character or maybe they're trying to handle something differently than they normally would, check to make sure, and again, because you have this connection to your throat from your self-center, you have a very easy time saying this is what I would do, that it can really impact somebody. And to be honest, I don't know who anything about anybody else's chart, right?
Yeah.
It's something to be very aware of because it can be rubbed off onto somebody else very easily.
So it's kind of almost like persuasion. because I
Unintentional.
have strong sense of self and I have a, a defined throat, that like that bridge in between who I am and the persuasion that I can give is elevated. Is that kind of more along the lines? Because even if someone has a defined throat but an undefined G center, it could mean there's a strong communicator but they can't communicate about themselves well.
Yeah, that could be true for somebody. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just trying to poke at it different ways to try to like find more.
I'm gonna say that could be true, and it might not be, because there's obviously different things that you communicate about yourself too, right?
Sure.